Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the United Kingdom, and I love making boxes and bags and all things with Stampin' Up products. Obviously, I am a demonstrator and I love it. What it does enable me to do is create lovely little gifts for people, and this is a very simple style of sort of fold-over box. It's been around a while, and I just wanted a little gift for someone who was feeling a little bit low, and as the paper is retiring, I thought it was a good chance to get that used up. Such a pretty paper. It's the hand-penned DSP. Comes in 12 by 12 sheets, and on the one side you've got these beautiful floral images in lovely soft colours, including the in colours which are retiring, so cinnamon cider, misty moonlight, pale papaya, and just jade. They are all going. That one's actually sort of mint macaron in there as well, and a bit of garden green, but just jade is one of the colours that's going. And on the reverse you've got other really useful patterns like this. So super all over patterns, could be used for all sorts of occasions. But yeah, so as the colours are going, I thought, do you know what, I need to start using some of it up. So little box, really pretty. And you can see here I've used some of the dies that come with the hand-penned petals. So this is the sentiment from this set, and on the inside I've put my dies. So you've got a lovely scallop, you've got the big floral image, but then you've got these super little flowers, which is what I've used to decorate that. I have cheated a little bit because I've used one of the new Beautiful Shapes dies. So these dies, as you can see, I haven't put those in a packet yet. So they are standard shapes, but you've got a couple which have got this lovely embossing, which hopefully you can see there. So when you die cut them, you get lovely embossing. So some extra circles, always useful. We've got some hexagons as well, really again useful basic shapes, and those all sort of tessellate together to create lovely ones. I haven't used these ones as much yet. I probably ought to use them more, but I have used these more, and as you can see, always got a few spares cut ready to go. So I've grabbed one out there. Anything else? So what's inside, I suppose that would be useful. So feel better friend. So this is just a little, do you know what, when somebody's feeling rubbish, what can I send them? So in here we've got a little flap that opens up, that covers up the ribbon. It's the denim ribbon that I've used on this. You can see here, really useful ribbon because it goes with so many different colours. Ties nicely as well, and in here I've got a couple of little individual packed tea bags. They're really useful. I don't drink tea as such, but I do drink some of these fruit ones, and sort of green tea ones. They're rather nice. A little love hearts, because who doesn't need some love hearts? Bit of chocolate. There were two of those. Somebody's nicked one of those. I think that's my son. And some Tic Tac mints. I find I really like a mint when I'm feeling rubbish. Yeah, a little mint to freshen you up. And you can see on the inside, reinforce the sides of the box, it's nice and sturdy, and I've popped a bit of the DSP on the inside as well, and I've just used some Highland Heather with the Misty Moonlight, again retiring colour. Let's use it up. So that also gives you an idea of the size of this as well. Easily fits in a few chocolates. I haven't tried it with Ferrero. I'm guessing it's probably a 4. Yeah, probably you'd fit 4 in there plus a little something else, maybe some chocolates. So it's kind of 2 Ferreros wide, so that's about 4 Ferreros with a little extra gap. So you could always pop something else in there. Yeah, so that's what we're going to make. So let's get started. Okay, so I thought the other paper I would use is this lovely one here. So it's got the Misty Moonlight, and is it Blushing Bride? Looks like Blushing Bride I've grabbed there. Yes, Blushing Bride, I was right. double check. I thought pink and blue, I think, work well together. Certainly work with this DSP. So the outer piece, the wrap, is 9.5 by 17.7, so 3 3/4 by 7 1/16. 16th is important just to give a little bit of depth there so that your box isn't kind of squidging down too much. And then the inner piece you want is 19 by 17 centimetres, 6 3/4 by 7 1/4. So we want to do some want to wreck the joint first, obviously. Let's do some scoring and some cutting. So to start off with then, our outer box is quite simple. We're going to score all 4 sides. I'm going to check my measurements first as well. 17, 19, yeah. So score all 4 sides at 2.5. And I'm scoring that on the right hand side. It's just easier. And then at 5 centimetres. Okay, so that's our inner. Our outer, very simple scoring, is at 7.5 centimetres on the long edge on each side. Okay, and that's 3 inches. So on it would be 1 inch and 2 inch on the box to score if you're working in Imperial. Next, what I want to do is cut my DSP. So this is quite a good one because it hasn't got a real sort of direct orientation. And what I'm actually going to do is, first of all, take my larger measurement. So I'm going to do 9.2 first. And I'm going to cut a piece that is 7.2, and that's my top layer. Top piece of DSP. My inner are going to be slightly smaller, so they are going to be 8.8. So I'm just going to trim that little extra off there now. So an 8.8 by a 6.8 is my inner piece, and then I want a 2.3 or 2.2, probably 2.2 piece. So I'm just going to flip that and do it on that side. It's easier for me to see. 2.2 for the front. Then trim it down. Yeah, it's just about going to do it. So trim it down to 6.8 now. And then we're going to want a 2.2. Like so. Okay. So I can pop all those pieces to one side now. And let's do a bit of stamping and die cutting. In fact, no, let's do some trimming first. So, to trim, so I'm taking my card base, and this is my short edge, but on each of these longer centre panels, I'm just notching out very slightly. And I'm going to cut away the outer 3 squares on each corner. So I'm just, say, notching very slightly. That just takes away a little bit of the bulk in the corners, and I'm going to keep these little pieces, and you'll see why in a moment. Now when I come to make the box, I will talk you through how I cut my tabs. I think it's probably just easier to show you this in this way, because this is the way I do it. So although it seems to be you're handling it a little bit more, I just find it easier. Although this isn't a square box, it's pretty square, and I just prefer to do this on boxes with tabs, particularly with these reinforced ones, to make sure I've got a tab on each corner. So you're going to cut straight down the side and then notch out the tab. Turn it once and do the same again. So straight on this long edge and notch out the tab. Again, straight down and notch, straight down and notch. And sometimes I fold and reinforce first, and sometimes I do it afterwards, usually when I remember, to be honest with you. Probably for box making, it probably is easier to reinforce your score lines before you do your cutting, but you know, it doesn't make too much difference. So I'm just, as you can see, reinforcing those. Okay, these are my tabs. And the adhesive you want, you're going to want something that is quite quick. So I'm going to use my Seal Plus when I'm creating this box, because it just works. It means you've got an immediate grab. But I am going to put my DSP before I start doing my box, the same as on the before I glue anything, because it just makes life easier rather than trying to glue it onto a 3D item. With the outer, just come in with a corner rounder. This is my old Stampin' Up one, but there are lots of corner rounders out there. If you've got the triple trio punch, then you could obviously use that as well. So just corner round those. Then take your larger of your two pieces of DSP. Remember we had one that was slightly smaller, which is going to go on the inside. We've got our larger one for the top. Decide which way you want your pattern to be up, and you want to corner round those front two edges. So that's that piece there. It's my piece for stamping for inside. So now we're going to put our layers on. So just add a bit of adhesive to this. Quite a narrow border. I vary between sort of, you know, 1/2 centimetre and just a couple of millimetres. This is a small project, so I quite like smaller borders. Pop that to one side. Now with this one, check your orientation, because obviously that is the way up your box is going to be. So you're only going to put DSP on 3 sides. There's no point putting DSP on a side that's going to be hidden. And I've obviously not measured that correctly. Probably means that all of them might be slightly out. I'll double check those. I'll put the corrected measurements on my blog for you. Just needs to shave a couple of mils off each one of those. I must have jotted them down incorrectly. It happens. So again, the beauty of adding, checking your DSP before you put the glue on. Wouldn't be the first time I've done that, as you know, but you get it warts and all. You know, I don't believe in editing out mistakes. That's not just me being lazy. It's a genuine wish just to show you what I come across when I'm crafting, and therefore what you might come across as well. So I'm going to just grab my sentiment and stamp that first. So pop that in there. The nice thing about this shape is, because it's not regular, if you stamp it slightly squiffy, it doesn't matter, because nobody's going to notice, because you can just adjust the shape accordingly. I've also added my little sort of foliage one as well. Oh, I didn't do my DSP, my basic white. So for the basic white layer, this piece of this offcut's probably going to be about right. It's going to be the same size as the front, so that's the larger piece. So this is going to be the 9.2 by 7.2 piece. Oh yes, that looks like it's just about going to be perfect. There we go. Again, you're going to want to corner round that, and this is where you would write a little note, and it's also going to be used to cover up our ribbon. So there's our piece of DSP. I'm going to do my what am I going to do? I'm going to use my garden green. I think I used mint macaron on the previous ones. So I'm just going to decorate. So it's going to be lift up like that on the inside. So just add your flowers. Might have some, no, I'm not going to use Misty Moonlight. I'm going to use Petal Blushing Bride for my flowers. And just stamp those over the top there. And I said to keep your little scraps. Well, the reason for that is that's what you're going to use to cut out your flowers, because these little flowers fit perfectly onto those squares of DSP. Now, if you want to, you could add some adhesive sheet to the back of these, but you'll see these overhang, so just be careful. I'm actually just going to use some wet glue on them. If I'd got some adhesive sheet, already with this colour on, then yes, I would probably put that on there. So all those little flowers fit onto there, and then I can just grab a spare bit of my Blushing Bride and pop those through. As I say, I've always got a few scraps to hand to keep them for just this occasion, so all I'll do is I will just cut a piece. So those will fit through your mini cut and emboss machine, so if you've got one of those, that's perfect, or you can just pop them on your large Big Shot or large cut and emboss. So I'll do that and come back in a moment. I cut all of those flowers, just pop those out. If any of them get stuck, use your die brush attachment for your take your pick tool, if you've got one of those. So that you can see most of these just pop out really, really easily. You could always add some foliage if you wanted to. Often I've got little bits that I've die cut before, so you can see in there I'll perhaps have some leaves or sort of larger images. I always keep again some spares. You'll see I've got some Highland Heather in there that I use for die cutting, and it just makes it a little bit quicker when you're putting a project together. You haven't got to get your machine out, and certainly if I'm taking things away with me, then I will usually try and do a bit of die cutting, and certainly pop my mini cut and emboss with me. Okay, so we'll clear the decks and let's finish our box. So I said before about needing something strong and fairly quick. I tend to use a Seal Plus for this. You can get right up to the edge, and I'm just putting a bit on each of those tabs, and I'm also going to run it down the outer edge of the outside. I've just gone over too far over the edge, so just run that down there. And this, don't forget that with the Seal Plus, it breaks off. The glue is cut into little strips, so it will detach really easily. You're not going to do the old flick that you used to have to do. And then all I'm going to do is just come in and line up those four corners, and this is, oh, I've forgotten to do that one. This is where doing what I kind of call them pinwheel tabs really makes it much easier, because you're only doing one corner at a time and just tucking that in like so, and then you can just pop those four flaps down. And then what I really recommend is you come in with that bone folder and give it a really good burnish, and that's whatever adhesive you're using. You come in with that, and then you can just pop your DSP into the bottom there. You don't even have to glue it in because it just fits perfectly. So now we're going to add our ribbon first of all, so don't forget that. Now things I find easiest to do when I'm doing the ribbon is just to come in and just mark the midpoint. So it's 9.5, so it's about 4.85. Do you know what? I can't even read that ruler anymore. It's great for cutting with, but not so good for anything else. And in fact, I can't, there we go. Right in front of me, my ribbon. So you're going to want it's about 16 inches of ribbon. When you think about it, what you want it to do is kind of extend out and have enough to tie a bow. So just trim that away. I'm finding the best way for me to keep my ribbon in some kind of semblance of order is to pop a little pin into it. And what I'm going to do is then just run my Seal Plus down the centre of that to hold that ribbon in place. So I'm going to line this up here and then pop my ribbon in, because what I want to do is try and keep it reasonably square for tying it afterwards, like so. And once you've done that, it is just easy to pop some seal around the base. We're then going to pop some seal. I'm just not going to come quite to the edge on there, so just run it down the four corners, and then what I do is I pop my box in first, lining it up just inside those score lines, and then fold down and burnish that down like so. Let's do our decoration on our flower now. So again, you can pop these up if you want to on dimensionals. I'm just going to literally just put some adhesive on those. I've probably left a little this would be one where normally I'd get my sponge out, or you could do it on your what do I mean by sponge? Okay, so as you can see here, what I would, if you've got any excess glue, if you use a silicone mat, it doesn't spread everywhere, but you could also sponge those flowers on the back as well. And if ever you've got any questions about something I say and you can go, well, that didn't make sense, give me a shout, drop me an email. My messages on my blog, I kind of don't go into that. I kind of go on a weekly basis probably, so it just takes me a little bit longer on those. But certainly my YouTube ones tend to pop up quite quickly, so they're quite good. And then all I'm going to do is pop a dimensional or two on the back there, on each side, and what I shall find is a mini dimensional in a moment. Now, do you know what? This is the miracle of my desk. I can have mini dimensionals and they will disappear within seconds. Okay. So I keep them in a green pack. Here we go. Help. And so I'm just going to cover up those glue dots I had on those outer petals, and it does twofold. It obviously stops the adhesive, and it also means that the flowers are nicely supported as well. Just adds that little bit more interest to the front. So just pop that onto the front there, and then you can pop your treats in. So here we go. As I said, we can pop a few sweets. We can pop a couple of chocolates in there. And if I can find my other box of Tic Tacs. No, it's disappeared. There we go. But you can pop, again, a couple of little tea bags in there as well. And then all that remains is just for you to tie that together. And just tie a little bow at the front there. Oh, no. You know what? Do you know why it's not working? Because I haven't added my other panel. Yay! I was kind of going, why isn't this... Right. Stampin' Seal Plus is what I want here. See what I said? You know, you get it warts and all with me. Seal Plus, because I'm going over, and it's going to have some tension on it. So it's just going to cover up that ribbon there. And now you will find that when you try and tie it, it doesn't squash your box because you've actually got some reinforcement in that top lid there. Just pop that in and just tease that little bow. You only want a little one, and there we have it. Finally, we have a pair of super little treat boxes ready to hopefully make someone feel just that little bit better. And don't forget, if you want this DSP, you're going to need to grab it now. It's on last chance and it's reduced, so if you love it, grab it. Take care, come back and see me again soon, and bye for now.